So thank you, candidate Morgan, for doing this interview with us at Disability Rights Louisiana to inform disabled voters when they go to the polls this election season. So before we get started, would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Sure. As you guys know, my name is Willie Morgan. I am born and raised here, right here in New Orleans. I was raised in the Lower Ninth Ward, so I like to believe I was strengthened by his struggles and definitely inspired by his resilience. I think out of all the neighborhoods that was affected by Hurricane Katrina, I think I was one of the worst, and we're still fighting to recover to this day. So definitely one of the reasons why I got in the race, because I feel like so many people in District E have been overlooked and disregarded. So I hope to change that once elected into public office. I have a history of community outreach and activism. Previously worked for the state of Louisiana as a transition coordinator for all of Jefferson Parish. I worked at juvenile court, Orleans Parish, as a program director for youth programs. And now in my current role as assistant principal here at a local high school, I continue to fight for our most marginalized on a daily basis.
Thank you so much. It's a tough job having to be in the school system, but it's something that is well needed and cherished.
Yeah.
So, what steps would you take to make New Orleans infrastructure and public spaces more accessible for all residents? And how would you ensure that residents with disabilities are at the table when decisions are being made about the city's built environment?
Okay, thank you for that question. I think I'll reflect back on my time with Jefferson Parish Human Service Authority. I was the transition coordinator for all of Jefferson Parish, as I mentioned. So on a daily basis, I was at meetings at various high schools, meeting with kids with developmental and mental disabilities, as well as their families, stakeholders, school staff, and the likes, making sure that that young person was prepared and ready to enter the world after high school. So I think I will pull from that in the sense of the same way we had that coalition that we met with all those stakeholders that was involved, everyone who had skin in the game to make sure that the plan we put in place was something that was wanted and not just us thrusting something upon someone because we feel that's what they should have. I would take that same principle to the city council, right? I will bring in the people who are doing the work on the ground, who know the struggles intimately. And together, I feel like we can create a plan, right? I don't want to create a plan and say that it's inclusive, but I never included those in the conversation. So definitely working with those stakeholders, working with those organizations who are on the ground doing the work so that we can develop plans and infrastructure plans that's amenable to all of New Orleans citizens, not just some of them.
Great. So for your second question, how will you support economic opportunity for residents with disabilities? And what steps would you take to ensure that jobs across the city, including city jobs and contracts, are truly inclusive and equitable?
I believe we should start with city jobs. I think that's where we have the most control. So that should be the easiest to get done. And that's ensuring that all of our hiring managers and program coordinate and department heads are being inclusive and sticking to the rule of law. Secondly, I will work with LRS. I had extensive work with them during my time at the state. So I know the great work they do in helping one of our most vulnerable populations. So I will continue to build those partnerships with LRS and United Way, as well as Volunteers of America, who I know are doing important work on the ground and making sure that, again, that we are all working together to make sure we're achieving our common goal.
That sounds great. So, what is your vision for ensuring that residents with disabilities can access safe, affordable, and accessible housing in every neighborhood of the city? And how would you address both affordability and physical accessibility in housing policies?
Well, so I think throughout this election, we have heard a lot about affordable housing. it is a issue that is plaguing New Orleans and all of its residents, right? So I think that as we move forward with solutions and trying to develop solutions for the affordable housing crisis that we are facing right now, is that we make sure that along the way, again, everyone has a seat at the table so that we are ensuring that everyone is being addressed. Definitely making sure we put benchmarks in place when we develop new units, that a percentage of those units are accessible, putting benchmarks in place when we awarding contracts to developers, that simple things as curbs and ramps are put in place so that people and our citizens that are in wheelchairs are able to access the property. And I think that if we hold those accountable who are using our tax dollars to at the end of the day get rich, that we make sure that they are servicing our citizens and that we are holding them accountable. And if we find out that they are not, then they are barred from getting future contracts from the city.
Exactly. So I'm sure this is something you see in your work every day, but how would you expand, how would you work to expand access to mental health care in New Orleans, particularly when it comes to community-based services? And what role do you see the city playing in preventing incarceration of people with mental health conditions?
Yes, and you're absolutely right. It's definitely something that I see daily. Even here, we try to encourage families and youth to engage in a mental health service, especially when we have identified someone that may need some type of counseling or even just mentorship or and the likes. I definitely think that the city council and the city leadership plays a huge part in this, right? I worked at a lot of entities. I worked for the state. I worked for the city of New Orleans. I've worked in the community, so I know that there are some great programs on the ground doing great work, right? I think that it's time that the city support those programs. Our city budget has to reflect our priorities. And if we're saying mental health and people are saying it's our priority, then our budget needs to reflect that. So definitely, I would push to put for more funding to go toward those programs that are doing the hard work on the ground. And secondly, I think we need to pause the expansion on the jail. That's over nearly $30 million that's going to expand the jail. I don't think we need to expand the jail. I think we need to take that money and invest it in healthcare, invest it in mental health, invest it in programs that have proven track records to decrease the jail population and make our community safer. When people who are in need are getting the services they need and family needs are met, all of us benefit because our community are safer and they're stronger for it.
Yes. And for my final question, how would you advocate for more equitable access to services such as Medicaid and other healthcare supports for disabled New Orleanians? And what types of policies would you oppose or support?
Okay. I definitely think in the current climate we're in, with the leadership we have in the federal government, Medicaid and Medicare is under attack. And that means a lot of people in need are going to suffer because of it. So I think on the city level, we need to come up with plans to kind of mitigate that fallout and try to help those our New Orleans as much as possible. I think we need to invest in organizations that they provide healthcare, like Crescent Care, Priority Healthcare, that are doing awesome work in the communities. I think we need to create some type of CMO, some type of cooperative agreement with those organizations so that when the federal government cuts affect those that live in our city, then we can kind of cushion the blow and work with them to get those services they need. I definitely think we need to be proactive because we don't have a friend in the White House right now. And that's going to affect marginalized groups, disabled, Black, brown, Lao, Latino community. It's gonna affect all of us, right? We all at this point we all got a dog in the fight. So I think we definitely got to be proactive. We definitely got to create some type of cooperative agreement with the organizations that are doing the work on the ground. Try to shift more of our funding toward those programs so that our citizens are getting the services they need. And definitely, I think I would just continue to do what I've done my entire career, right? And that's working with everyone across the table so that we can identify exactly what is needed so that our funding is being spent precisely. I think oftentimes we spend money just because we think something is good or whatnot and not have had the research or the input from the community, and then the money it goes to waste essentially, right? Because the programs are not utilized, and then oftentimes it's only serving people who have the ability to who already have the ability to get the program, whether that program existed or not. So I think we definitely have to address those measures and put measures in place so that the assistance is going to the people who need it the most, and that we are essentially protecting our most vulnerable right now in this time where the federal government is attacking everything that's decent about our community.
Well, thank you so much, Candidate Morgan, for doing all the work that you're currently doing and continue to do.
Thank you.
And that is it for all of my questions. But do you have anything you'd like to add before we close it out?
First of all, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it. This is a community that's dear to my heart. When I first came out of college in 2012, and I worked at Quality doing case management for children charts and support waivers, I met so many amazing families and youth, and some I still keep in contact with dear to my heart. A lot of them now have like finished school and are kind of adults, so it's exciting to see them. When I do get to see them in the community. So I do know that this community needs support, and it needs people in office that's going to fight for them and keep them at the forefront of all the development throughout this city, because I apologize about that. No one should be felt left behind or overlooked, right? So definitely thank you guys for the work you do. Thank you for this platform, and I hope to continue to be a community partner, whether I'm in office or out. I hope to continue to fight for all of our New Orleanians and not just some of them.
Of course. Well, thank you so much for your time. I know you're extremely busy, and like I said, thank you so much for everything you do. And I wish you the best of luck, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.